Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, ThrashManiac99, and, well, never thought I would do another one of these videos, but here we are. So, yeah, I have a bit of a rant video for you guys. Now, I'm not going to be going crazy over the top or off my fucking rocker for this video, because, to be honest, I've kind of grown out of doing that all the time now, just because I'm older now, I'm wiser now, and it is what it is. But I got this motivation to do this video after going through my Instagram today, and there was this one account that was asking around about, like, name me a band and I will rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, and basically it just what's the word I'm looking for? It just reinforced this whole problem that I have with metal today. Pretty much, I've figured out this problem several years into my metal journey, and it's still a problem to this day, and I don't understand why. We're going to be talking about two groups of metalheads that I absolutely cannot stand. One, metal elitists, and two, metal gatekeepers. We're going to start with talking about metal elitists first and foremost. So, of course, any of us that have been on here on YouTube talking about metal have probably run into commenters who are, quote, metal elitists, that tell you what's real metal, what's fake metal. You're not a real metalhead if you listen to bands like Avenged Sevenfold, Trivium, or Slipknot. You have to like stuff that sounds like it was recorded at the bottom of the sea or in a coffin, like Darkthrone and fucking Gorgoroth, and insert whatever raw black metal band here, basically is what I'm saying. So, we've run into those people over the years in our lives as metalheads, as people that just want to fucking shove their elitism down people's fucking throats. And it's been a problem, honestly, really ever since the days of the glam metal era. Like, I get it, there was a lot of silly crap in the glam metal era of the 80s. No doubt. Just like any genre of music, there's some good stuff, there's ultimately going to be some bad stuff. For me, the glam metal period, I divide that into two subsects. The first wave and the second wave. The first wave was actually really good, you know, early Motley Crue, Rat, Dokken, Wasp, Quiet Riot. Those were actually great bands during that early to mid 80s period, and making some of the best metal of the time, like Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. That's still a great album to this day. It's their heaviest album, for damn sure. And then you got like Rat with Out of the Cellar, which was a great album in its own right. Metal Health, that kind of helped break metal out into the broader conversation a little bit, as it was the first metal album to go to #1 on Billboard. Yeah, largely due to their cover of Come On Feel the Noise by Slade, but still, it went to #1. And it's really been ever since the glam metal period. Like, of course, I'm much younger than a lot of the old school. Like, I'm only 28, so wasn't around, wasn't even conceived or thought of back in, like, the 70s and the 80s when, you know, this stuff was first forming. But going back and listening back to pretty much almost every style of metal that there is in my lifetime, glam metal, like especially the first wave, like in the early 80s, gets too much shit. I understand thrash was coming up and it was blowing glam completely out of the water. And you know me, thrash is my die-hard favorite genre of all time, with death metal being a very close second. But the early glam metal stuff, I enjoy it for what it is. It's fun, it's catchy. It's not meant to be, like, super technical and all this stuff. It's meant to be fun and catchy and to enjoy yourself. Yeah, lyrics can be dumb, but hey, I can enjoy dumb lyrics to some extent. Not dumb lyrics to the extent of Rob Flynn, but you get the idea. It's been a problem really almost ever since then, especially during like thrash versus glam in the 80s, pretty much all throughout. Now the second half or the second wave of glam metal that I refer to as hair metal, you know, Poison and all those bands that just sounded like carbon watered down copycats of the first wave bands. Yeah, I'll admit most of that stuff was hot garbage, you know. I mean, I can enjoy a few Poison songs here and there whenever I'm in the mood for something more mellow and sleazy and fun. But then again, if I will admit, if I want fun, sleazy stuff, I'll check out like Midnight or something like that. But that's beside the point. Yeah, the second wave of glam was bleh, but the first wave was good. It was good for what it was. But then you get into the mindset, especially once black metal arose, you know, out of Norway in the early 90s, especially because of Euronymous, basically going out there saying, death metal sucks, it's too commercial, it's fucking bullshit, and blah, blah, blah. First of all, fuck off, Euronymous. I'm glad you're dead, and I never thought I would say that about anybody, and I know that's wrong to say, but Euronymous was a fucking piece of shit. So, there you go. Great guitarist, no doubt, but as a person, dickhead, trying to make himself a bigger person than he actually was, but I digress. Now, whenever that started, because of Euronymous, basically trying to shove down people's throats his whole notion about death metal sucking and all this and that and blah blah blah. And look what happened after Euronymous was murdered. Basically, most of the black metal musicians basically just was like, yeah, what Euronymous said was fucking stupid. Like, because Necrobutcher from Mayhem, big fan of the band Death. You have Chort from Emperor and Satyricon going on to form Blood Red Throne, one of the best modern death metal bands going today. Yeah, this whole overall metal elitism, and then even like the underground fans that want to shit on bands like Pantera for helping to break metal out into the broader conversation even further, or even Metallica with the Black Album, and I still don't understand people's mentality today when it comes to the hatred for Metallica. Guys, they needed to evolve. Aren't bands allowed to evolve their sound, especially if they feel like they've been stuck in a rut, or that they feel like they've done everything they possibly could do in a certain style of metal and want to explore different territories? What's wrong with that? Granted, if it's done in the wrong way, say like a band like, I don't know, Machine Head, when they went in the nu metal path in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that abomination known as Catharsis, yeah, if you try to explore, it may not always be guaranteed to be a success. But more times than not, bands that do explore are successful. Look at Opeth, going from prog death metal to prog rock, and even prog metal nowadays. And it's worked. Like, they still know how to write great melodies, great hooks, and that's all fine and dandy. Metallica in the 90s, they wanted to not play super fast anymore, like the Black Album. It still had a little bit of that veneer, but they wanted to go for a heavier, more classic metal approach in the tempos, more along the lines of like Judas Priest and Black Sabbath. What's wrong with that? Yeah, Load and Reload is very divisive because they weren't super heavy, but again, I enjoy those albums for what they are, for exploring different territories that they wanted to try. Whether it worked for everybody, that's all subjective. And then, of course, with Pantera, you know, like, people want to say, oh, they write simplistic bullshit, they're a racist exhorter. First of all, fuck you, SJWs, for thinking that. And also, people want to go at Phil Anselmo for what happened at Dimebag. The guy was drunk. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing, and he's redeemed himself ever since. Which, again, brings me to the point. Did Phil Anselmo really hurt Rob Flynn's feelings that fucking bad? To the point where Rob Flynn basically went on a fucking douchebag tour that led to that pile of crap known as Catharsis? I digress on that. But that's neither here nor there. But the whole thing about, like, Pantera being overly simplistic and generic and shit, first of all, you don't know what generic is. If you want generic, listen to Five Finger Death Punch and then come back and tell me what's generic and not. Or not. But it's just ridiculous, the elitism about this crap. Like, aren't people allowed to enjoy the bands that they want unless it's Five Finger Death Punch? That band should not be enjoyed by anybody. Unless they're bro types that don't know what good music is, but I digress. I know I might sound a bit hypocritical, but then again, Five Finger Death Punch has been hot garbage for a long time, and I don't get how they have so many fans. I don't get it. They're like the one band I should be allowed to talk shit about. Everybody else will have good moments, but sometimes they have a bunch of misfires. It happens. That's music for you. So yeah, metal elitism, here's one to you. Now to the metal gatekeepers, and we're back to Metallica. It's funny how we keep coming back to Metallica in this... excuse me. In this video. The other thing I saw from this Instagram account, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want anybody to go after him, but when I asked him, like, rate Metallica, he gives him a 0 out of 10 just because of fucking Stranger Things. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, first off, I may not be as familiar with the show Stranger Things as much as, like, a lot of other people. I know of the show, I've seen a couple of episodes elsewhere, and I enjoyed it for what I saw. But, so, to set the table, during the season finale of the previous season of Stranger Things over on Netflix, you have the character Eddie Munson from the Hellfire Club, who's a big metalhead because the show is set in the 80s, and he's playing Master of Puppets. I thought that scene was fucking badass. And after all, don't we want, as metalheads who feel like we're outcasts, or we have that feeling of being outcasts from society, because after all, metal has always been looked down upon by society for being too heavy or too brutal, too evil, quote unquote. Which, that's been a thing ever since the fucking Tipper Gore era. I'm not getting political in this at all, but fuck her. But, yeah, again, to go back one more time to Rob Flynn, metal is not meant to be PC. Trying to be PC in a genre that's not meant to be PC is not PC. It's actually PS pretty stupid. Cover Killer Nation, thank you for that quote. But regardless, don't we want more people to get into metal through certain means, whether it's movies, television, playlists, whatever, insert whatever luring tool you can think of, video games even. Don't we want more people to get into this music because we want to be able to see how people feel when they listen to metal? What's the I don't get it, you fucking gatekeeping bastards. What is the problem here? Just because they got onto Stranger Things, just because Metallica was on Stranger Things, doesn't mean that they're less legitimate. In fact, you should be thanking Stranger Things for putting metal out there for more people to discover. Like Iron Maiden, I think they had like a scene in another episode whenever they were going through records and they were goofing off like, we need music, and Eddie Munson's like, this is music! Showing metal tapes while wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. I would view that as being like gateway drugs to get in the music. Like, hell, look at me, for example. I've said my origin story many times, but the abridged version, video games, WWE, and television and Guitar Hero, those four things were what, well, also my parents and my brothers, was what got me into heavy metal in the first place, with Metallica, Alice in Chains, and Pantera. Funny how we're back to Pantera as well in this conversation, but you get the idea. Like, everybody has a start somewhere, whether it's from family, from television, from video games, from sports, whatever the case may be, everybody's origin story comes from something different. That's the way it goes, and that's the way it always will go, whether people want to admit it or not. That's the way it goes. So if Stranger Things is a gateway for more people to get into metal, then what's the problem? Don't we, again, to ask the question to you, don't we want more metalheads to exist in this world because Metalheads, for the most part, like I would say 90% of metalheads, the other 10% are the elitist, gatekeeping assholes that just don't want anybody in their club that they don't approve of, blah, blah, blah. Hell, they probably would look at me and be like, this guy's not metal, get him out of here. That's for both of you. But regardless, 90% of metalheads are some of the nicest, sweetest, kindest human beings I've ever talked to or met in my life. And it's because of metal that we're here to this day, either enjoying the music or talking about it, whether it be on social media, YouTube, television, movies, what have you, books, video games, you name it, we talk about it. At the end of the day, people, we're just here for the music. We love the music. So why try and tear somebody down for a certain liking of a band, unless it's Five Finger Death Punch. Five Finger Death Punch, fuck you. That's the one band you should talk shit about. Everybody else, why? You know, come on. Like, I love Avenged Sevenfold, and I know a lot of hardcore elitists will fucking hate me for it. Oh well, they're a great band, legitimately, objectively a great band. And they are an important gateway to people getting into the deeper history of metal because of their influences. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Sepultura, At the Gates, Halloween, Blind Guardian. There you have it. The old school they loved. They would be a great band to get people into the old school because of their popularity and the bands they love. At the end of the day, metal elitists, the elitism needs to die. It's been needing to be dead ever since Euronymous died, I will say. And then the gatekeepers. Just because you can't handle beautiful women who like heavy metal doesn't mean you should be going after them and attacking them for bullshit reasons. And in conclusion, shouldn't we just enjoy the music for what it is? I rest my case. But anyways, that does it for this crazy, well, not really crazy, but rant that I wanted to get off my chest for a while, and that's why you don't see the intro, outro, music in the background, all that stuff. This is raw, unedited for you guys. But anyways, do you guys agree with me or disagree with me? I know I'll probably get some hate, but I'll probably get a majority praise from people who understand where I'm coming from. And that's all that needs to be said. But until next time, horns high, and see you soon, and don't let the assholes bring you down.